Good evening. It's the
Good evening.
June 7th meeting of the Town Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yay! That was a good one. Lovely
a
little
rousing
voices.
Pledge of Allegiance, for sure.
Do it.
And I think we're going out of order. At
First, we need a motion to seal the minutes in non-public session.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. And now we're going out of order, and we're going to have a presentation from Link Together. Ree Cooper.
Last summer, many of us went to recreation camp. The first couple of days of camp, we couldn't use some of the playground because someone had vandalized it. They had to look for money to fix it, and the expenses had to be approved by you, the council. That got us thinking about our school playground and what would happen if someone vandalized it. We asked the superintendent if there was a fund to set up the repair the playground, and there wasn't. So our main project this year was to raise money to start a fund for playground repairs.
We have also been collecting box tops and gave the school board a check for $434. We also opened a store that runs from 4 to 5 each day. From September to January, we raised $368.33 from that. On February 2nd, we gave the school board $802.33 to start a fund for playground repairs at the elementary school. That same night, someone had also donated $100 to that fund. We will be giving them $639.20 to add to that fund on June 15th.
The store was a lot of work. We had to keep inventory of our supplies, sell the items, collect the money, and keep track of what we sold. The next day, we would have to compare the money that we collected with the tally sheet to make sure they matched and adjust the inventory count. At the end of each month, we had to pay Link Together back what we had borrowed from them to pay for the supplies and machinery.
We would also like to remind people that are watching that they can collect box tops all through the summer and bring them to the elementary school or our lemonade stand on Wednesdays. Link Together will be open from 6:30 to 6. There's a collection bag on the bulletin board in the cafeteria if we are away on a field trip.
At this time, we would like to ask you, the members of the Town Council, for permission to hold our annual lemonade stand at the Pocket Park this summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if the council wishes, it could be a motion to approve the request to allow the lemonade stand at the Pocket Park.
Go for it.
I just want to double check the hours. It's every Wednesday from 11 to 1. Okay. So I would like to make a motion to approve Link Together's lemonade stand at the Pocket Park on Wednesdays from 11 to 1 this summer.
Second.
Can we still do the rain day to Friday if it rains on Wednesday?
Sure.
Sure. Friendly amendment.
Yeah.
No rain, no rain.
And great presentation, guys. Nice job.
Excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful job.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Oh, I just have a question about what repairs are needed at the playground. Do you know?
Well, we don't know. It's like
If somebody vandalized the playground, whatever
She's talking about the
car-
Pocket Park with the lemonade stand. Do you remember? What have we been working on the last 2 years? But we won't need it this year with all the rain. What were we looking to put in there? A sprinkler system. But we do know that this year there's some holes in the garden, so we are going to need to have to purchase some plants to fill in the holes.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Do we need a second? Do we need a vote? or-
Yep.
We
We
call the
do.
roll.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. And at this point, I will open public forum. If there are any other comments from the public at large. Opening public forum at 7:23.
Good evening. You guys are all bet now. I am going to be brief tonight. I promise I'll be within my 5 minutes. Kyle True, Police Chief here in Newmarket. I've been putting in my monthly report a name that you've seen over and over and over, and it's because I'm very excited about this name. Her name is Annalise Schmidt. Now that's Annalise to come up here. I want to officially introduce you to Newmarket's newest police officer.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Alex.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Real briefly about Annalise. Annalise is born and raised here in Newmarket. In 2013, she graduated from the Newmarket Junior High School. She then went on to Plymouth State University, where she studied criminal justice and business administration. While at Plymouth State, she was a 4-year collegiate soccer player. The last 2 years, she was captain of the team. Also, in her junior year, she walked on to the basketball team as a walk-on collegiate basketball player. Also, while juggling her academics, she became a part-time police officer. So she attended that academy as well as going to college and her athletics. Just a few weeks ago, Annalise graduated from Plymouth State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I've been waiting for that date because 2 days after she graduated, I swore her in full-time as Newmarket's newest officer. I'm actually excited that I can say that Annalise is the very first full-time officer that I've hired as chief, and it's an honor to have her here. So, Annalise is scheduled to attend the 174th Police Academy in August. She will spend 16 fun-filled weeks in Concord, away from her family. And after that, she'll have about another 4 weeks of training with one of her FDOs. You see Sergeant Jordan in the background here, hiding. So she has some training ahead of her, but she's in training now and she's doing a fantastic job. Annalise went through a very long process to get hired with us, a physical agility test, an academic test, and she came out #1 on both. She went through an extensive background investigation to include a polygraph examination, psychological examination, medical examination, physical and medical. So we were pretty much looking for Superman and Superwoman, and we found her. So I'm very excited. So just wanted to introduce you to her. So congratulations, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, report of the town administrator.
Minutes.
Oh, minutes, sorry, went right over it. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 17th regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or comments about those meeting minutes?
I did not.
Seeing none, I have none. Call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Abstain.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 to 1. 5-0 to 1, sorry.
And could I also have a motion to approve the May 17th, 2017 non-public meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
And if there are any, of course, any corrections, we'll have to go into non-public to discuss the minutes. But if there are none, we can approve them now. Seeing none, I will please call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Abstain.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0 to 1.
Now the report of the town
Thank you,
administrator.
Mr. Chair. First item on my written report, actually, I'll go with my unwritten report first. Many of the councilors met prior to the meeting. The facilities director, Greg Marles, started on Monday. Hit the ground running. We are already looking at implementing software for the facilities and shared software with the school district, and been taking tours of schools, and as well as reviewing some other purchases that we have. So I just want to let the council know that. On my written report, in 2016, the Stratford Regional Planning Commission collaborated with staff from the University of Hampshire to implement a groundwater modeling study to identify existing and potential future locations where public water systems may be vulnerable due to sea level rise. The outcome of this project was a report titled Sea Level Rise Impacts on Drinking Water, a groundwater modeling study in Newmarket, New Hampshire, and the results will be presented to the Planning Board on June 13th at 7 p.m. The presentation will provide a brief overview of the project and the computer model and sea rise level projections that were used, specific outcomes, and recommended adaptation strategies for the town to consider. And the Planning Board wanted to make sure that I invited the town council to attend, or if watch the meeting if they want to do so at home.
So I have a comment from Councilor Thompson. Is that old or?
That's old.
That's old.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I have a comment from Councilor Bowden, but that must be really old.
Oh, that was me. Sorry, that was old.
So-
Oh, that's me.
But I will say on, I guess if it's all right to break in now, the sea level rise and groundwater, I was on that committee, and it's an interesting topic. You know, anybody that has interest should come to that. And I would especially say, you know, out in where I live, in Smith Garrison and those areas where it's a fairly vulnerable area. And so, because a lot of this modeling was about not just the municipal water system, but private wells. And, you know, there has already been saltwater intrusion in some water areas of Newmarket. And so it's an important topic for people to be aware of. And the things that impact saltiness of wells is not just the rising sea levels, which is still fairly slow at this point, not compared to what is potentially going to happen in the future, but it's also about how much water is drawn, you know, and it could be a consideration for if there's development in parts of the town that are near the bay. You know, it's a reason for those people to be aware of, you know, rules or at least good practices of not drawing too much water, because it's how much water infiltrates, how much water is withdrawn, and how high sea level rises are all part of it. So it's an important topic. And we were fortunate. It's another time we benefit from where we are, because this is a new effort. You know, basically it's been thought that in bedrock wells it's not really been considered feasible to model it. And there are reasons why you can't push the model too far. But in terms of sort of understanding the forces and factors at work, I think, you know, the feeling was that this has some value, but it's a tricky thing to model bedrock wells. So.
The next item on my report is that I've met with the Channel 13 station manager and the director of IT, and we're going to be recommending upgrading our servers and our bulletin board system for Channel 13. We're trying to determine the exact date, but we believe that the system that we currently have downstairs was installed 25 years ago by Continental Cablevision when we first started the channel.
Not the servers.
The server, yeah. They put the shows, the things on to broadcast it. That's what that's called. One of the things I noticed when I first started here was there's a whole room full of racks of equipment to broadcast the Channel 13, and coming from a community that just started their cable access channel, and it was maybe a small little area, that I knew there was something that needed to be upgraded. Again, also with the new channel station manager, he saw the same thing. So we were trying to determine the age of the equipment, and that's why we're thinking it is close to 25 years old, and they're not servicing it any longer as well. So we're going to be going through the process of trying to figure out what's going to be best for Newmarket and what's the most expandable. And also one of the things that they want to look at too is being able to provide broadcasts off-site. So, because sometimes you may want to do a live broadcast, but we're not. You have to, with the current system, you actually have to be near a wire to plug in. So we're trying to look at options for there. We should be having something later this summer to come before the council. The money is actually already appropriated. It's in a capital reserve fund. It's, you know, I had lunch with the seniors today, and they asked me about their cable bills, because everybody looks on the cable bill and says, if you have an issue, call the town hall. Well, the only thing that the only thing that the town regulates is that we're allowed to charge up to 5% called a franchise fee.
Yeah.
And that's the right for that cable provider to be in the community. That money goes back into equipment and costs for the cable channel. It's built up over a number of years. So we would be withdrawing from there to pay for any upgrades.
Yep.
But again, I just want to give the council an update on that because it'll be coming up sometime this summer. Another item that is in the fiscal year 18 budget is upgrading our current financial software. We've been discussing this for a number of years as our current systems provider has been sold a number of years ago. We've formed a working group to review the products and to get us online by July 2018. When I say online, I don't mean online what people say now, but
up and running.
Up and running. Thank you. The finance director will be issuing RFPs this summer with the intention of having a vendor in place in the late fall to begin rollout in the winter. Please note that the cost of the system is substantial, and it was our intention to lease the software to reduce the cost. We do have the first year lease payment in the fiscal year 18 budget. The estimate is the first year lease payment is $54,000. So just to give everybody an idea there. An additional goal is to make it sure it's compatible with any school systems. There are not many systems that cover both town and school because we have two different, we're more in the collection business and billing, whereas the school is more in the expenditures and side of it. And also, even though we're doing sharing services, we're not allowed to have the same set of books. I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. So you still need to have two separate software systems. It is our intention to have similar systems so people can feel comfortable if they need to jump from one to the other for backup.
You have to have separate systems, literally, or separate sets of books?
Literally.
Really?
Because they don't have a combined municipal school system around our area.
But no, you're right. We need
Yeah.
separate books. We don't have to have separate
Separate
systems. They
systems.
just aren't really out there yet. But
Right.
the books have to be kept
Right,
separate.
we don't have
yes.
something that's
The books do. You're
combined.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
gotcha. Yeah.
Sorry, it's my bread and butter.
Yeah, no.
Financial systems.
Councilor Thompson, I think there's a question.
Sorry.
I appreciate it.
Oh, no, you're, no.
Counselor Thompson.
I always have a question. Formed a working group to review products. Who might that be if you can?
Sure.
And the other part of my question is someone involved in that, like, I don't know, a consultant or an outside contractor that might have previously worked here, or somebody like MRI, or somebody like that has a different knowledge base that could help us?
At this point in time, there is not an outside person. We probably will have that during the review process. The working group is myself, the finance director, the town clerk, tax collector, the IT director, the town accountant, who works in our finance department. I'm trying to think if I hit everybody. That is the group at this point. One of the things we also want to look at is most of these software packages for municipalities, it's not just financial software now. It's permitting. It's not.
Yeah, but it's a town admin package.
It's a town, right? And we're going to look at that. We want to make sure that at some point in time that, yeah, we may be able to have the permitting product in there as well, or we may be able to have the rec program in there as well, so it's one complete system. there's very few in New England that, for companies, and some I can honestly say the products aren't that great, so I wouldn't recommend it for Newmarket either. But we'll get there when the RFP is done.
Okay, you keep us posted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Council Cast?
Yeah, you answered my question about looking at other other parts, other packages or
Yeah.
other areas that it can cover.
Modules,
Because a lot of the value is in those integrations, so you're not transcribing information from one place to another.
Yeah, we actually were close before the whole shared services came up, that we had a product that we were kind of happy with, but with the shared services, we put it on hold, and we want to make sure that if that's a product, we're reissuing the RFP, but if it's something we want to go with, that everybody can work on it. I mean, my big thing is for my position, I want real-time information. I want to be able to go on something and say, okay, this is what we have for outstanding bills, this is what we have for permits that are open, those kind of items. And it just open up a dashboard and it's all there. Versus, the accountants need the much more in-depth kind of items. So yeah, no, we're looking for that integration. Since we are talking about software, I'll go back to the facility software. That is something that it's common. They changed the name of it, but the original product was called School Dude. I know. But what it is, it's basically a work order system that they've expanded for municipalities as well, and it's web-based, so it can be worked anywhere, and also it's mobile, so somebody in the field can get the report on their phone and then answer what's there. And actually, I was surprised at the cost. It wasn't that bad. $5,000, and it's going to be shared between the two entities. So we should be getting that sometime shortly, which, again, that's something I want to see, because I want to see what's open and what needs to be addressed, and department heads can reply quickly. So,
Councilor Weinstein?
Just a quick comment about that. I have very limited experience with it, but we do use it at my son's school, and people love it. It's a great way to manage projects, and they used it when we went to Cape Elizabeth. They talked about it there as well. So, I mean, it's something that I think it's just a way to keep track of everything for the facilities manager.
And it was a package that I was looking at prior, because I was questioning things, because I was saying, where are we with this? And I wanted a database, and sometimes the outside ones, they're better than trying to create your own. So.
And we use it for not just, big projects, it's also for, I need to book a room.
Yeah.
And make sure that the room is set up to the specifications that are necessary, so.
That's all I have tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any other comments on the administrator's report? Seeing none, do we have any committee reports?
I have one.
Okay, Councilor Weinstein?
So the Budget Committee met a couple weeks ago, and it was just a really quick overview from both the town and the school. There's really not anything to report at this point, other than, we were just looking at where we're at to date. We won't be meeting again until August, so.
Okay.
That's it.
And I see the Conservation Committee's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night,
Is
yeah.
that on the calendar?
Yeah.
The Dam Committee is, I believe we met since the last one. It was last week. We've met in different meetings, but the Dam Committee met recently. That we're meeting again tomorrow. Basically, where we are in the process is going back to the 3 engineering firms we met with a fair bit ago, before we went back and revisited the model and got into quite a bit of discussions about the peak flows again and what was happening up on Long Marsh Road in Durham in terms of impacts on flows at the dam. But we're at the point where we have our numbers, and we're getting down to real specifics about exactly what changes will happen with the abutment walls and what kind of stability analysis is recommended. So that's where we are on that. That'll be 4 hours tomorrow. Anybody? And I think that's it for committee reports, so we move on to Stratford Regional Planning Commission Commissioner Peter Nelson. The next item on the agenda that we have to discuss. And
Do you want a motion?
I think we want a motion unless anybody has a comment about that, so.
I'll make a motion to appoint Peter Nelson to the Stratford Regional Planning Commission with a term expiration date of March 2021.
Second it.
And Peter's, if nobody else has a comment to make, I'll just say that, you know, I was with Peter on the planning board when I was the representative to that, and he's been, he's very diligent, and he's been on the Stratford Region Planning Committee. He was also on the Groundwater Technical Committee, so he has looked for opportunities to be involved and serve in several of these committees. A good representative. And call the roll.
Counselor Burns.
Aye.
Counselor Finch.
Aye.
Counselor Thompson.
Aye.
Counselor Cast.
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein.
Aye.
Counselor Pike.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay.
Chairman, can I just ask a question here? On these applications for appointment and whatever, I know that frequently people come, I do know who Peter is, I don't have a problem with that, and certainly not with his position. But on the bottom of this form, it does say that applicants are requested to appear in front of the town council.
They're not required to appear before the town council.
Okay.
So, I mean, if the council wants to, we can say you're required.
No, I guess I interpret request to appear by the town council as you better show up.
Yeah.
That's
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
understood. I just wanted to, okay. All right, that's all.
Okay, and we have 3 resolutions and 2 ordinances for the first reading. So, Resolution 2016-17-33, paving improvements. Whereas annually the town issued an RFP to find and award a contractor to perform the town's paving program, and whereas the town received 1 proposal from Bell and Flynn LLC, who have been competitively bidding the town's work for several years and have been awarded the contract every year since 2001, and whereas the town budgeted $155,000 towards this expenditure in the operating budget, and an additional $175,000 was budgeted in the capital reserve to fund the road management plan that has been adopted and will have a balance of $240,223 on July 1st. And the proposal from Bell and Flynn LLC is $229,862.50. This proposal is below the cost estimate in the road management plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby award the contract to Bell and Flynn LLC with a dollar amount not to exceed $330,000, with $155,000 coming from the operating budget and $175,000 coming from the capital reserve on July 1, 2017. Councilor Weinstein.
I just have a quick question about this resolution, and I haven't gone back to look to see if specifically we are following the plan as it is written, but I was curious, like, it's not in here at all what roads we're gonna pave, and I just thought that, I found that odd.
As soon as you said that, I
It was in the staff report.
Yeah.
But I just thought that maybe that should be included in the resolution.
We could amend it, when you vote on it next week, we amend it and include it. I can tell you that we're actually doing more than anticipated. Initially, we were expecting New Road to go half. We're actually gonna be getting about 3/4 of the way. It's gonna go from the bridge to Birch, where before we were about to get halfway through. And we can't go much further because after that, we're gonna have a large drainage project that we are be coming up in the next couple of years. So we're gonna get more there, and also we're gonna be doing Beach Street Extension. But I'll find out why.
Okay. Next resolution is Resolution 2016-17-34, paving improvements Bay Road Municipal Parking Lot. Whereas the town has acquired the parking lot at the corner of Bay Road and Lamprey Street, and the parking lot is deteriorated and needs to be fixed, and whereas the town is currently under contract with Bell and Flynn of Stratham for its paving projects, and the town administrator requested a proposal to repair the parking lot, and whereas the town currently has $273,223 in the municipal transportation fund that can be utilized to fund this parking lot improvement and not have any effects to the road paving program, and whereas the total cost to repair the parking lot is $14,700, now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby approve the withdrawal of funds in the amount of $14,700 from the Municipal Transportation Fund for the repair of Bay Road, Lamprey Street parking lot. Okay, the next resolution is Resolution 2016-17-35, Police Station Air Conditioning System Replacement. Whereas the air conditioning unit at the police department is 23 years old and not repairable, and whereas Thermodynamics is currently under contract with the town to maintain and repair all AC and heating units, and whereas the AC unit services the entire upstairs of the police station was evaluated by Thermodynamics, who recommended replacing the AC unit and all of its components, and whereas there is currently $199,638 in the Building Improvement Capital Reserve account, and the cost of replacing the AC unit is $7,940. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby approve the withdrawal of funds not to exceed $7,940 from the Building Improvement Capital Reserve Fund to replace the AC unit at the police station. And next is...
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend you read the next two by title only due to the slight.
Oh, that's a good idea.
For the public, it's about 75 pages.
Ordinance number 4-2016-2017. An ordinance adopting Chapter 14, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire Sewer Use Ordinance. And the next ordinance is, and I got to flip through, like he said, a lot of pages. Let's see, where are we on that?
112.
Ordinance number 5-2016-17.
Just that first paragraph.
Amendments to Chapter 32 zoning, Article 1, Section 32-2, purposes, and Article 4, signs of the Municipal Code of the Town of Newmarket and zoning ordinance adopted 2/14/1996 as amended through March 1, 2017.
Mr. Chair, just for the public, both of these will be held over for a public hearing at the next meeting.
Okay? And do we have any correspondence to the town council? And, or any closing comments by town councilors? Councilor Weinstein.
So I have a few. And I'll start with the biggest first. And that's that I was approached by a couple residents in the last few months about looking at ways that Newmarket can be more environmentally friendly. And this is prior to any, I guess, federal concerns that have been brought up with the environment. So this is all before all of that, but there's some specific things have been brought up to me. And one was exploring solar as an option for the community, similar to what Durham has done or other communities near us. And so looking at our options, looking at the cost, looking at the benefit of that type of a system. The other thing that was brought up was composting and having some sort of community-wide composting availability. And there are companies that do that or that will set up a composting site in your community. So again, looking at the feasibility of that for Newmarket. And so, the cost may outweigh the benefit. in both of those items. So when I talked to Steve about it, he mentioned that other things have been brought up to him by Councillor Cast and Councillor Finch, that like electric charger, car charging stations, and that actually brings me back to the visioning workshops that we had a few years ago. Those things were brought up. So I know that there's an appetite for that in the community. So again, when I brought it up to Steve, he suggested that one way to approach looking into these items would be to establish an environmental committee. So I wanted to bring that up to the council. I don't know how we would, if we need to vote, or if this would, I don't know how that works, I guess.
Procedurally, you'd need a resolution which would also establish the membership. I'm assuming it's not going to be just a subcommittee of the council. You probably want to have
Right.
members of the general public to serve on it, maybe one or two councilors. I apologize, I was going to check, but I didn't get a chance to. I believe Durham has one, and I believe Dover has more specific areas, like a solid waste and a energy one versus a complete environmental one. If it's the wish of the council, we could come up with a resolution and bring it before the council to establish one. We're not going to stop some of the projects we're already working on and wait for the committee, but yeah, I think it, and on our side, and the staff's side, we're not experts. A lot of these, and there may be people in the community who are experts in certain areas that they can assist us with. So, yeah.
Councilor Fish, is your comment related to this or something else?
It was something else, but I'm glad it got brought up today, for sure.
Okay, so do you still have a comment, or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, let me, because I want to stay on this for just a
Okay.
second. One of the things that occurred to me is that, you know, it would be hard to evaluate composting without, I think, thinking somewhat more comprehensively about our whole solid waste program. If you had a municipal composting, I think it would have some impact on terms of, you know, the bags and stuff like that. So that's something that occurred to me, that what the impact of that would be. So I know when Rick was here, was it last meeting or the one before that, you know, he made some comment about recycling costs and where we stood with that. So I don't know if there is I don't know if it belongs with an environmental committee, but to me, the whole composting thing is sort of related, you know, somewhat
I
to
think
it.
solid waste is separate from the environmental I think solid waste is a much larger issue versus the composting is bringing materials to a facility to make compost. It's not, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the solid waste numbers.
Well, if anything, it would reduce them.
Right.
And I think in a beneficial way to the town, I would think, because it would reduce your tonnage in a perfect world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think recycling is its own beast, because the costs and
The cost of recycling, as Rick, the Director of Public Works, and I mentioned at that meeting, we're not, 15 years ago, we were making revenues from recycling. The market's not there any longer. We were sending it to China, overseas, and it would get product, and it was a boom. Their economy faltered. They didn't want it anymore. We have to pay to get rid of it now. It's a commodities market. Unless we don't want to recycle, which I don't think anybody does, for now it's going to be a cost. Solid waste, the collection, we do go out, we share that service with 2 other municipalities. Just redid the contract last year with Casella, which has a reasonable increase due to fuel and the difference between a few years ago. The only other one would be the cost of the bags, and at this point in time, pretty close to the top that you're going to be able to charge for that is a reasonable, you know, amount that you can charge for those. So I understand what you're saying about looking at solid waste, but at this point, it may be 2 separate items.
Okay, but the part about, the reason I brought that up was they were talking about curbside collection of, that was what
There
was
is a-
in the website that you shared with me, it was talking about.
But then they also set up municipalities to do their
And
own,
that-
to have their own self-service composting areas. So, but they do individual, so there is a company that will do private pickup, much like there's private trash pickup.
Okay. So were you looking to get any sense of the council at this point, or is that something for
I
people
could-
to think about?
I could
or-
work with Steve to draft a resolution, and we could
Okay.
go from there.
Yeah.
And, but if anyone wants to give input into that, I mean, we could probably, right, because counselors can introduce resolutions.
Yep, that's what you're here for.
You've done it before.
Yeah. I just want to
Technically.
people surprised.
Okay, then. And Councilor Finch?
Try to keep it short and sweet, but on Saturday I got the chance to attend the local officials workshop with Councilor Cast. Very good just getting up to speed about local government and right to know laws and whatnot, but the thing that kind of struck me, and I know certainly the town has work and we have work, I was impressed by how many things we are ahead of the game on in terms of hearing other towns speak about their concerns with communication with the public and just how they organize themselves. I think we're pretty ahead of the game with a lot of things we're doing so far, so I was kind of it was kind of good to hear that I wasn't as concerned as some other towns that attended, so.
It is good to hear.
I will, as a member of the board of directors of the Municipal Association, I'll share your kudos with the board on Friday.
So, our next meeting is, another one popped up,
Sorry,
sorry. I missed it.
I figured I have a list, so I thought that I would let other people go. And just along those lines, with Councilor Finch, I have attended some of those, the workshops in the fall, and they've just been really beneficial. I attended a riveting workshop on solid waste, as a matter of fact. And, learned a lot. So a lot of things that I didn't
Did one
know.
on social media, I remember.
Yep, there's social
Speaker with
media.
that one is really
Yep.
good.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Good thing.
And a lot.
Sell
I
it,
mean,
Steve,
just-
sell it.
but really, like a really great array of topics. So I encourage people to go to that particular one. It's 2 full days, I think, in the fall.
Yeah, the annual conference, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I have 2 other items that I wanted to bring up, and one was that we did the roadside cleanup about a month ago now, and during that cleanup, we picked up 68 bags of trash alongside 3 roads that we focused on, and that was Grant, Ash Swamp, and Dame roads. We had about 20 volunteers. And I just want to say a special thank you to Rick Mulaski and to the DPW, because they not only helped with making sure that we had safety signage, but then they also obviously picked up all the bags the next day, and it was really, we appreciated their support. So there's a ton more that needs to get done. There are a lot of emotions that day. I was really excited to have so many people helping, and excited that we made, I think, a pretty significant impact on the roads that we did. But then as I was counting bags along Ash Swamp Road, and then I turned onto 152, and my heart sank, because the amount of trash along 152 is really disturbing. So it's going to be one of my summer projects, just to, go get a bag, just an orange bag, and start picking up trash, because it's really out of control on that particular stretch, for whatever reason. So that was one item, and then I also wanted to mention that I had the opportunity to attend a workshop through New Hampshire Listens. It was sponsored by New Hampshire Listens and the Seacoast NAACP and the New Hampshire Association of Police Chiefs. And that was New Hampshire Blue and You. That's where I was at our last meeting. And so Kyle, Chief True, as well as I think 3 other police officers attended. Karen Paulzanetti, Michael Cahill, and Adenuki Cahill all attended that, and there were a lot of policemen, which was a very safe room to be in at UNH that evening. And the conversation was about policing in our communities, and it was, I think, a really beneficial conversation. A lot of it had to do with race and working with people of all sorts of disadvantages, recognizing differences. So it was a really great presentation. We talked about community relationship building, the need for more training, connecting with youth. That was one of the big topics, and just understanding bias and working on hiring practices to make a more diverse police force. So that's it.
That was the last one?
That was the last one.
So, okay then. Next council meeting is June 21st. And if there are no other comments, I see no more lights, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
So moved.
It requires no motion. I've had that drilled into me.
Dale, you know my thing. Did you do attendance at the beginning?
No, I did not. I always screw something up.
Yeah, thanks.
It's okay. It wasn't anything.